Are looking for a Louisiana woman accused of killing two men she claimed to be married to.
Accused murderer Meshell Hale is behind bars this morning on a $150,000 bond. She's allegedly poisoned not one, but now two former husbands.
Doubt in our mind that something happened to Damian. It wasn't a heart attack. From day one, we knew something happened.
Good day, my beautiful people. I am the Mysterious Black Bandit. Welcome back to the #1 true crime / tragic events channel on YouTube. In today's video, we'll be talking about something that I was personally afraid of when I first got into a real relationship. And to be honest, I was so afraid of this happening that I would always cook our meals, and when she used to cook, I would be in the kitchen watching and helping. Now, before we get into this video, y'all already know what I need you to do. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any video when I upload. Once you've done that, let's jump into this thing. Meshell Hale, who was a native and resident of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, had always hoped to find someone who would truly love and complete her. In 2008, her wishes had seemed to come true when she met Arthur Noflin. Arthur was unlike anyone she had ever known. He was kind with a fun-loving spirit, and not only that, he possessed an intelligence that captivated her from their very first conversation. Arthur was also a graduate of Southern University and had built a promising career for himself as a conductor with the Union Pacific Railroad Company. For years, they appeared to be living a pretty good life. They traveled and laughed together and were pretty much considered the epitome of a perfect couple. But behind closed doors, everything was falling apart. Now, of course, they tried to work things out, but no matter what they did, their relationship continued to get worse and worse. So they decided it would be best for them both to just separate and go on different paths. By the year 2014, Meshell apparently had moved on and found herself a whole nother man named Damian Skipper. Now, Meshell and Damian had known each other as friends for years, but when Meshell's marriage started to fail, their friendship soon became more serious. Now, at the time, Damian was living with one of his cousins, and for years they both worked together in Monticello, but once Meshell and him got together, that all changed. Damian was a very family-oriented person who loved being around his family every other day, but when he moved to Baton Rouge to be with Meshell, he turned into a whole different person. At first, her manipulations were subtle. She would steer him away from the family gatherings by having these alternative plans or starting arguments just to keep him at home. Then over a period of time, he completely stopped going around his family and friends. Now that she had him all to herself, she did just about everything to keep him happy. She would make sure his clothes were washed and ironed, have his food ready just about every day when he got off work. But after a while, some of these meals she was feeding him got him very sick. Now, Damian was a 41-year-old healthy young man that barely ever went to the doctor, but on June 18, 2015, he started complaining about severe stomach cramps and pains. Being that he's like most hard-headed men, he tried to just rest and tough it out for a few days, but on June 22nd, he became a little fearful after vomiting all day and having a bloody stool. So later on that day, Meshell takes him to the ER at the Baton Rouge General Medical Center to be checked out. And when he finally got in the room to see the doctor, he tells them that he believes his symptoms may have been caused by food poisoning from his girlfriend's cooking. So the doctor ran a few tests and treated him for hematochezia and epigastric pains, then released him the next day. Not even a full 24 hours had passed before he was right back in the hospital for the same reason. Now, this time, the doctor just took his word for it and gave him some fluids and pain meds. Then the next day, they sent him home and instructed him to follow up with a GI doctor on July 5th. Now, for days, Damian's health never truly got better, and in fact, it increasingly got worse. By June 30th, it had got so bad that he had to be rushed back to the ER, where he went into cardiac arrest. That same day, he had to be resuscitated several times, but unfortunately, he could no longer fight and was pronounced dead on that same date. Damian's family was devastated. For this man to be as healthy as he was and just die like this definitely raised some eyebrows. So his mother, who felt like there was some foul play, ordered an exhumation for his son's body to determine if there were toxins of any kind in his tissue. But at the time, the coroner's office wouldn't take any action for her request. So a few days it went by and they had Damian's funeral, where all his family members and Meshell attended. Now, this is when things start to become a little sketchy. At the time that Damian had passed away, they found out that Meshell and Arthur were still legally married. And although they did live in the same house together, Arthur, who had his mother and daughter as the beneficiary of his $750,000 life insurance policy, was somehow changed to Meshell receiving the full amount. Now, if you think that was strange, on March 21st, 2016, which was 8 months later, the fire department was called to an empty lot in the 26th block of Forstall Street in the lower 9th Ward of New Orleans after someone reported seeing a truck that looked like it had been set on fire. Once the police arrived, they discovered the charred body of Arthur Noflin, who was left in the back of a truck. His body had been burned so badly that they weren't able to recognize who the body belonged to at first. This prompted the New Orleans Police Department to launch an investigation. However, they didn't know where to start. Now, 3 days after the body was found, his wife, Meshell, filed a missing persons report, which caused a lot of suspicion. So they decided to look into her background and discovered Meshell was linked to both men. Initially, authorities thought that Damian had died from a heart attack, but after they found out just a month before he passed, Meshell became the sole beneficiary of Arthur's $750,000 life insurance policy, they started to dig a little deeper. So on May 19, 2017, they finally made the decision to exhume Damian's body to perform an autopsy and found toxic level of barium acetate in its remains. Now, barium acetate has no common application and is used in labs in painting textile fabric and is also known as a powerful poison. So this changed the status of his death to a homicide by poisoning. With this discovery, officials executed a search warrant at Meshell's home and seized several phones, computers, and tablets that showed she searched for things such as heart-stopping drugs, how bad does barium taste, how common is barium poisoning, and barium acetate put in food. Then they searched her financial records, which revealed several purchases of this poisoning. It was also found that she had used the phone to impersonate Damian while contacting a rental agency and reportedly emailed someone for a quote to buy potassium cyanide. Now, when Damian had passed away, Meshell received a $10,000 life insurance claim after she claimed he was her husband. So she also searched for Transamerica employee benefits and Damian Skipper's death claim form. As the investigation continued, they also learned that Arthur had become sick too in December of 2015 and was experiencing abdominal pains, diarrhea, and vomiting, which was similar to the symptoms Damian was having. Due to this new information, the Baton Rouge Police Department released an arrest warrant for Meshell Hale in the death of Damian Skipper. On June 5th, 2018, Meshell Hale was taken into custody and booked in the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison on second-degree murder in the death of Skipper and was initially given a $3,000 bond, which would have allowed her to roam free while they awaited the appeal, but prosecutors fought to have that revoked. On December 16, 2022, the Baton Rouge courtroom was packed with suspense and emotion as family members from both men filled the prosecutor's side. The district judge stated there was very little direct evidence in this case, but an abundance of circumstantial evidence as to the death of Damian Skipper. But there was no doubt that he was a victim of barium poisoning, which led to his death. He continued, there were numerous inquiries on Meshell Hale's phones, computer, and tablet that included inquiries regarding barium acetate poisoning and related topics, on top of 3 purchases prior to the death of Damian Skipper. Now, on the account of her real husband, Arthur Noflin, no charge could be filed for his case because his body was burned so badly, medical examiners could never rule his death a homicide. With all the twists and turns this case had been through, it was finally brought to an end as the judge read off the verdict, finding Meshell Hale guilty of second-degree murder in the poisoning of her former live-in boyfriend, Damian Skipper, and sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And that will bring this video to an end, my beautiful people. This is one of those stories that will have you fearful to start a new relationship, especially in the days we're living in today. Now, I'm not sure if she was just evil or money hungry, but I guess that is why they say the love of money is the root of all evil. All right, family, that'll be it for now. If you enjoy content like this, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any of my videos when I upload. Y'all make sure to live and let live. And until next time, stay mysterious, my friends.